Good morning everyone. It is, I think, October 3rd today, and I figured today would be as good a day as any to do a day in the life of me as a young foster carer. So there are a few rules around this. I can't tell you the age or the gender of any children in my care, and I can't show you any of them, so I'm going to be working around that and just kind of giving you a bit of an insight as much as I can to what it's like to be me as the foster carer. And like some things you have to deal with, so just bear that in mind with today's video. But it is currently, you might be hearing my voice is really croaky. It is currently 8 AM and we are just having breakfast now. My little one usually wakes up around 7:15, well, comes in my room, they wake me up at 7:15 and like kind of push open my door, and then they kind of watch CBeebies until 8 o'clock-ish when we start having breakfast, so I get to snooze for a bit longer, which is great. So now we're just about to have breakfast. Later today we've got a singing class, and then they've got their afternoon school, and then I've got a meeting with a social worker too. So today is actually kind of busy. Let's see how it goes. You're all wet? That's because you used your top to dry the table. So one of the other things you've got to do as a foster carer is keep daily records, which basically means like taking rough notes about anything you've noticed change with the kids, good things, bad things, behaviours you're dealing with, things you're struggling with, things that are going really good, that kind of stuff. And my local authority, you don't have to submit it every day or every week, it's kind of when you need to. So I usually do it around every 2 weeks, and it sounds like a lot, and this is where people, I think, don't realise how much of a, I don't like calling fostering a job. It's not a job, you couldn't do this just for money, but there is a lot of work involved with it that I think is invisible to a lot of people, and that's kind of what I want to show through my videos. So taking records is one of them. We've got a lot of meetings we have to do, not just with the social workers, but with school. There are what we call PEP meetings, personal education plan meetings. We have looked after children reviews every couple of months, which basically involves everyone coming together, including birth parents sometimes, to talk about the children and child, and see what their plan is. And then you've got all the meetings with your social worker, the children's social worker, with other teams, if there are other teams involved. Like, it's just, there's a lot of meetings, and that's why I've got one today. In fact, I had a social worker meeting with my social worker yesterday. I've got a meeting today with a different social worker. I've got another social worker coming out tomorrow, and then we've got other things happening this weekend, so it's like, One of the other things you're going to notice about today is I'm going to spend a lot of time in this room here, which is my bedroom. That's because I live in a 2-bed flat, so there's only really 4 rooms in my house, and one is the big open plan kind of kitchen, living area and sitting room, and I'm not really allowed to let you hear them at all, anything they say, but that's quite difficult in a 2-bedroom flat, so I'm going to have to keep nipping in here to say stuff. But I don't want you to think that I spend all day in here. It's just when I'm filming these little clips, this is where I've got to come. But most of the time I'm out there with them. In the morning, as I said before, we typically kind of watch CBeebies and do some play, and one of the things I've been really trying to do is encourage some independent play. So what I'll do is I'll kind of sit in the living room with them, and I'll sit on the sofa with a book, my Kindle, and just to let them play. And then if they want to show me anything, I'll be like, oh, that's really good, but I won't try and control their play or anything. I just try and be there, have my presence there, so they know I'm there, and they feel kind of safe and secure with that. But they're free to go off and play with whatever they want, and that's kind of what I'm really encouraging at the moment, and it's working really well. So that's what we are going to do this morning before we have to get dressed and leave for our singing lesson. Oh, we did not want to get dressed this morning, but it's my turn now. God bless you, babies. Right, little ones are dressed, now it's my turn. Honestly, I swear my hair is in this permanent sort of mum bun style. We're at the very awkward stage in the year where it's kind of too cold in the morning for short sleeve, but it's too hot in the afternoon for long sleeve. It could be really hot, could be really cold, you just don't know, it's autumn. So yeah, figured that a short sleeve with a warm coat would be a good thing for today, and also our singing class this morning. The room's usually quite hot for that too, so I wanted to get prepared for that. Anyway, we need to head off in about like 5 minutes, so I think I'm done with all the jobs for today, and then I need to think about what we're going to do for lunch when we get back. We're back, and now I'm just about to cook lunch before we have to get ready to go to afternoon school. This is a very typical look for our living room. But I did want to quickly show you this little like house that they built today because I thought it was really sweet. So this is part of a rainbow stacker. I'll show it to you later on. But we got this doll today. I bought it today, and I'm not entirely sure what they've made here, but I do know this is a house, and then she's like lying on some pebbles that you can use. And yeah, I just thought it was really clever to see how the kids can use these really open-ended toys. I will talk a bit more about toys later on because there are some toys that I got for fostering that I thought were really, really useful, and I would totally recommend. And then there are some that I'm like, yeah, actually didn't really need this. So yeah, I think I might do that later on today. But for now, I'm just gonna read a book, get some work done. I've had a few emails I really need to get done today. So I'm gonna quickly whiz through that, and then take 5 minutes before the social worker arrives. I did also want to quickly say thank you so much to everyone that sent like the really nice messages after one of my previous videos. I think it was called Fostering Frustrations, where I was basically talking about how some of the videos setup had to change, some of the videos had to go down because I hadn't got the information when I first asked I needed, and it was just, I was feeling really negative, and I'm in a much better headspace today. And part of that is actually to do with the fact that I had a meeting with my social worker yesterday. I think I've already mentioned this, but it went really, really well. And one of the things I got to manage to get cleared up was something around contact. So obviously, as I said before, there's very little detail I can give you, but a general overview of contact for those of you who aren't familiar with this term. Contact is a word that we use to describe, well, that's used to talk about when children have contact with their birth families. Could be any member of that family, could be parents, could be grandparents, could be siblings, just whoever. It depends on the child and their situation. And the problem I was having was I didn't know when the contact was for my children. So I was literally getting a text the day before to tell me that it was going to be at this time the next day and someone would be there to pick them up. And I'm going, well, that's great, but I can't plan where like days out and trips out around that. If I book a plan for a weekend, for example, and then I get a message the night before saying we're going to be picking them up at this time, and I'm like, well, great, we've just booked a trip to Legoland or something. So it was kind of making it kind of difficult to balance things, and I was finding that really frustrating because I thought there was a schedule somewhere, a rough schedule somewhere that I should be aware of when contact was going to happen, because the courts order how often it's going to happen, how frequently, and such and such. And I had a rough idea of this, but like I said, I didn't know when. So anyway, my social worker was able to call the contact centres, which is where contact can either happen in a centre that's specifically for it, or it can happen out in the community, like parks, leisure centres, just public spaces, you know, it can happen out community. And so they were able to find out where these children were in the system and like what their contact sessions were going to be. So that cleared things up for me, so at least I then had a rough idea of when it was going to be. So that was very helpful because that was something that had been stressing me a lot, so that was good. And then there were also a few other bits that got cleared up around future plans and stuff that I wasn't aware of, or I felt like I wasn't clear enough on. So having had that, now I feel a bit better. But it's so interesting because from what I can tell, having been in this a very, very short period of time in the foster system, it frustrates absolutely everybody. You know, the kids are frustrated, the foster carers are frustrated, the social workers are frustrated. I don't know about the courts, but they're probably frustrated. Maybe it's only the courts it suits, actually. Even probably birth families, I imagine it frustrates them too. So there's literally nobody in the system who it works for. Even the managers are frustrated. So it's like we've managed to design a perfect system that frustrates absolutely everybody involved in it. I would love to know who it's actually working for, because I've yet to meet them. So that's kind of fascinating from that point of view. But yeah, for me, getting some things cleared up yesterday, that really helped, and so I'm in a much better headspace now, much more positive. I'm sure I will hit more frustrations in the future, but as of right now, we're good. It's 3 p.m. now, and my meeting with this different social worker has just finished. I think that's the shortest social worker visit I've ever had, actually. But yeah, that was all fine and good. Nothing particularly major happening there, just paperwork as usual. I now have a couple of hours to myself, so I'm just going to do the last little bit of work I have to do, probably get a little snack or something pickly to eat at while I do it, and then maybe just go through YouTube or relax and watch something I feel like, and then think about dinner. I'm having a lazy last hour of the afternoon, and it's actually amazing. So you know when you find a book that you really, really love, and you can just read it and read it again. That's what I found a couple of months ago. Seriously, people always message me as soon as I turn the camera on, have a meeting. It's so law, isn't it? And it's cool, the book that I'm reading, it's called Red, White and Royal Blue, and it's so good. I think I've mentioned this before, actually, I'm sure I have, because I love it so much. Take my hood down, I'm gonna call my mum bun. Red, White and Royal Blue, and it's a story about, it's a kind of fantasy story based off of if a woman had won the 2016 presidential election in America, and her son, so the first son of the President of the United States, falls in love with the Prince of England, who is called Henry in the story, and doesn't realise it basically until lots of things happen. But it's so well written, and it's just a great story, and I absolutely love it. It's so heartwarming, and the way it happens, it's really well done. So I highly recommend it, especially for any of you who are kind of members of the LGBT community and maybe struggle to find books. I'm not myself, and I enjoy it, so anyone could read it. But actually, I can't quite figure out whether I am or not. I'm grey sexual, but I'm straight, so I haven't quite managed to figure out whether that is part of the LGBT spectrum. I think to a certain extent it is on the line of sexual attraction levels. But yeah, no, so either way, the point is, it's a good book, highly recommend it. Yeah, I'm just currently rereading it again and enjoying it thoroughly, and listening to some music on YouTube, which I do quite often. So it's just gone past 6 o'clock. We've just had dinner and I'm running a bath for them now, and then it will be bedtime. So it's just coming up to 8 p.m. now. My little ones have been asleep for a good hour at this point. I'm starting to think about dinner, and I think what I might do is like a stuffed pepper, because I've got a red, like sweet red pepper, which I'm thinking I might stuff with some couscous. I might just have a quick look on YouTube, see if there's any easy, simple recipe for that. I'm starting to get hungry, and I'm always really lazy with cooking food. So that's potentially on my list. The other thing I've got to do is a bit more work. My website has been going through this redesign for ages, and it's taking forever, but I think we're finally like in the last stage of it now. So I've got a few things I have to approve, and we've got to adapt and change around with it, and I'm looking at it now, which is why I'm on the screen. So just doing that, finally got through all my emails and sorted them out, and reading my book, and then I think I'm going to try and have an early night. Because we've got some new plans and things happening tomorrow. We've got a busy day tomorrow, so we just everyone needs to be well rested for the day. It's 9:15 in the evening now, so we're just kind of coming up to the end of the day. And I thought I'd just do this one last clip. It's really interesting, and I wanted to talk a bit about this before I sort of signed off, but this is my first, well, it's my first day in the life, I think, properly since I became a foster parent. I did film one earlier on in the process, but after the rules got changed, they asked me to put a pause on that, so that one isn't going to get posted. But yeah, it's been so interesting. Like, my life has changed so much this year. From the beginning, like in January, I didn't know I was even going to become a foster carer this year. I thought I probably would, but I hadn't fully decided it. And then it was February I applied, and it's so interesting because it takes so long to kind of go through the process of becoming a foster carer. It's like 5 to 6 months, which sounds like a long time, but it really is nothing. It goes past so quickly. And then the children arrive and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? This is real now. And it's so interesting now because I've been a foster parent for just over 2 months at this point. And it's funny, it feels both like an eternity and like it's just flown by at the same time. But I am a mum now, and that's the bit that's so crazy to me. I'm like, I'm a mum. I'm a foster mum, but I'm a mum. I'm doing everything a mum must do. And the thing with being a foster mum is you do everything a regular mum does, plus all the paperwork and all the meetings that regular parents don't have to do, birth parents have to do, that sort of thing. So yeah, but it's been a crazy ride. And the thing I found really interesting for me myself, because I'm 22 and I haven't had kids before, I'm a single parent, single foster carer, and I really didn't like, I've had a lot of experience with kids. I was a babysitter, I nannied, I had like homeless mothers with children here before, but I've never been like a full-time, the sole person looking after a child. It's only ever been for a few hours at a time or something. So in theory, I was like, I know how to parent, I know how to manage children, I can do this, but children in care can be very challenging, and I wondered whether I was going to question my ability to actually parent as I went into this, whether my age was going to psychologically do something to me where I thought, maybe I can't do this because I'm so much younger. That hasn't happened at all. If anything, the only thing I've found like difficult to deal with about becoming a parent is actually the lack of the loss of how much free time I had before. And I had too much free time before, in truth. Like I needed something to do, but it's kind of gone from having a lot of free time to very, very little and very, very structured free time that I have to work around. So that was a big shift for me, and it was interesting to see how I dealt with that emotionally, because I almost went through a period of mourning over this. But I want to cover that more in its own video about like my emotions of being a new foster carer. But yeah, the actual parenting stuff I have not found difficult at all, and that's been really interesting. So I mean, we're only 2 months in, you know, give it a few more months and we'll see. But I thought that might be something I kind of hesitated with at the beginning, but no, it's not. Like, I kind of got into the rhythm of that. I just instinctively knew what to do very easily, and I think that's partly down to me just being very naturally maternal and being around loads of kids growing up and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, but I just wanted to kind of put that in there. Anyway guys, I'm going to end the vlog here. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know there's not a lot I can tell you, but I hope it gave you a little bit of an insight into what it's like being a foster carer on a daily basis, just little bits of what we deal with and that kind of stuff. Like I said, there's more videos coming regarding the toys that I've found helpful. I'm not going to put that in this video. Toys I found helpful, like the emotional stuff, things like can you foster with a chronic illness, because I have a chronic illness as well, which is managed, and I can foster, and talking about that. So there's lots of stuff coming up that I can still talk about. So yeah, I hope you stay tuned for that, and make sure to subscribe if that's stuff you're interested in. But thank you so much for watching guys, and I will see you next week. Bye bye everyone.